The December snow fell softly on the city streets, each flake catching the amber glow of the streetlights. Thomas Mitchell pulled his wool scarf tighter as he walked toward the bus stop, his breath forming small clouds in the crisp evening air. At 58, he had learned to appreciate these quiet moments. The gentle rhythm of snow beneath his feet, the peaceful hush that winter brought to the busy world. He worked as a maintenance supervisor at the old Carnegie Library downtown. A job that didn't pay much, but one that filled him with quiet satisfaction. Every day, he made sure the building was warm and welcoming for the children who came for story time. The elderly folks who found comfort among the books, the students who needed a safe place to study. As Thomas approached the bus stop, he noticed a young woman sitting on the metal bench. She wore a thin green dress and a light jacket, hardly enough protection against the December cold. Her long blonde hair was dusted with snow, and even from a distance, he could see her shoulders trembling. The woman looked to be in her early 30s, well-dressed despite the inadequate coat. Her posture spoke of someone accustomed to confidence, yet tonight she sat hunched against the cold, looking smaller somehow. More vulnerable. Thomas slowed his pace, remembering his late wife Margaret's gentle voice. Kindness costs nothing, Tommy, but it's worth everything. She'd been gone 3 years now, but her wisdom still guided him through each day. Without hesitation, Thomas approached the bench. "Excuse me, miss," he said softly, not wanting to startle her. "That's quite a cold night we're having." The woman looked up, her eyes blue and bright despite the weariness he could see there. "Yes, it certainly is," she replied, her voice cultured but tired. "I couldn't help but notice you might be a bit chilly." Thomas was already shrugging out of his heavy winter coat, a sturdy navy blue jacket that Margaret had bought him 5 Christmases ago. "Please take this. The bus can be unpredictable on snowy nights." The woman's eyes widened. "Oh, I couldn't possibly—" "You'll freeze." "Nonsense," Thomas said with a gentle smile, draping the coat around her shoulders. "I've got this thick sweater, and honestly, I run warm. Margaret always said I was like a furnace." He chuckled softly at the memory. "Please, it would make me feel better knowing you're comfortable." The coat engulfed her small frame, but immediately he could see her shoulders relax as the warmth surrounded her. "Thank you," she whispered, pulling the coat closer. "I'm Elena Rodriguez, and you are incredibly kind." "Thomas Mitchell," he replied, settling onto the bench beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. Sometimes we all need a little help staying warm. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the snow continue its gentle dance. The city seemed muffled, peaceful, as if the world had decided to slow down just for this evening. "I had a job interview today," Elena said quietly, almost to herself. "It didn't go quite as planned." Thomas nodded thoughtfully. "Those can be tough," he said. "I remember when I was younger going from place to place hoping someone would see something in me." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "But you know, sometimes when one door closes, it's because there's a better one waiting to open." Elena turned to study his weathered face, seeing kindness in every line. "Do you really believe that?" "I do," Thomas said simply. "I've lived long enough to see how things have a way of working out. Maybe not always the way we expect, but often in ways that surprise us." He smiled. Life has a funny way of putting the right people in the right places at the right time. The bus arrived then, its headlights cutting through the swirling snow. As it pulled to a stop with a soft hiss of brakes, Elena stood and began to remove the coat. "Keep it," Thomas said gently. "You can return it another time if you'd like. I take this bus route most evenings around this time." Elena hesitated, then nodded gratefully. "Tomorrow? Same time?" "I'll be here," Thomas promised. As Elena climbed aboard the bus, she turned back. "Thank you, Thomas, for everything." Thomas waved as the bus disappeared into the snowy night, feeling that familiar warmth that came from knowing he'd done something right, something Margaret would have been proud of. The next evening, Thomas waited at the bus stop, curious about the young woman who had seemed to carry such weight on her shoulders. When Elena appeared, she was wearing his coat and carrying a small paper bag. "I brought you something," she said, offering him the bag along with his jacket. Inside was a thermos of coffee and a homemade sandwich. It's not much, but I wanted to thank you properly. As they shared the coffee and Thomas insisted she keep half the sandwich, Elena found herself talking, really talking, for the first time in months. She told him about her struggles, her dreams, her fears about the future. Thomas listened with the patience that comes with age and experience, offering gentle wisdom when asked and comfortable silence when that was what she needed. This became their routine over the following weeks. Each evening they would meet at the bus stop and share stories, coffee, and the kind of friendship that transcends age and circumstance. Thomas learned that Elena was starting her own business, something involving technology that he didn't quite understand, but he could see the passion in her eyes when she spoke about it. Elena learned about Thomas's work at the library, his love for his late wife, and his quiet contentment with a life built on simple kindnesses. 3 months later, on a warm spring evening when the snow had long since melted, Elena arrived at the bus stop with an unusual request. "Thomas," she said, "I have something to tell you. That business I've been working on, it's grown faster than I ever imagined. I'm hiring people now, and I need someone I can trust. Someone who understands that taking care of people is just as important as taking care of business." Thomas looked puzzled. "I'm not sure I understand." Elena smiled, the first truly radiant smile he'd seen from her. "I'm offering you a job, Thomas, as facilities manager for Rodriguez Technologies. It comes with a significant raise, full benefits, and the chance to help me build something meaningful." Thomas was quiet for a long moment. "Elena, that's incredibly generous, but I'm not qualified for—" "You're the most qualified person I know," Elena interrupted gently. "You understand that a workplace should be a place where people feel safe, valued, and cared for. You know how to create an environment where people can thrive." She paused. "That night when you gave me your coat, you didn't just keep me warm. You reminded me that kindness and human connection are what really matter." 6 months later, Thomas stood in the lobby of Rodriguez Technologies, watching employees come and go in the building he now helped maintain. The space was beautiful, modern and efficient, but warm and welcoming too. Elena had insisted on a small library in the corner, comfortable seating areas, and always fresh coffee available for anyone who needed it. As he adjusted the thermostat to ensure everyone would be comfortable, Thomas thought about that snowy December evening. How a simple act of kindness had changed both their lives in ways neither could have imagined. Elena approached, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Penny for your thoughts?" "Just thinking about how funny life can be," Thomas replied, accepting the coffee gratefully. "How the smallest gestures can have the biggest impacts." Elena nodded, looking around at the thriving company they'd built together. "You know what I learned that night at the bus stop, Thomas?" "What's that?" "That real wealth isn't about what you have." Elena smiled warmly. "It's about what you're willing to give away." As they stood together in the gentle afternoon light streaming through the windows, both understood that they had found something precious. A reminder that in a world that often feels cold and hurried, there is still room for warmth, for kindness, and for the beautiful connections that happen when we simply choose to care for one another. Sometimes the most extraordinary stories begin with the most ordinary acts of human kindness.